Right now on KGW News, President Trump goes after mail-in voting.
We want to have honest voting in our country.
How local election leaders are pushing back on his new executive order.
There is no role for the president in this.
Plus,
it's horrifying to see how this unfolded on the video.
The evidence prosecutors say that helped crack a Gresham murder case. Then,
we've got a winter weather advisory on Mount Hood. Winter storm warnings elsewhere in the Cascades as an early spring snowstorm hits the mountains.
And later, T-minus 16 hours to the first crewed mission to the moon in decades. Tonight, a high-tech look at the launch of the Artemis II. But first to our top story, and swift and growing opposition to President Trump's latest executive order, one that could restrict vote by mail by creating a national list of U.S. citizens, the president says, who are eligible to vote. Catherine Cook talked with Oregon's top elections official. Catherine, it appears he's already ready to challenge this order.
David, Secretary of State Tobias Reed points to the Constitution, which says the times, places, and manner of holding elections is up to each state to decide. He also notes that when it comes to vote by mail, Oregon is the gold standard.
I think it's just another example of a desperate attempt to rig elections.
Oregon Secretary of State Tobias Reed on President Trump's executive order restricting vote-by-mail elections. It calls for Homeland Security to create a list of U.S. citizens in each state who are eligible to vote. It also aims to ban the U.S. Postal Service from sending ballots to people not on each state's approved list.
And remember, it's about voter integrity. We want to have honest voting in our country, because if you don't have honest voting, you can't have really a nation.
This is just about politics. It's not about election security. It's not about anything but a president who knows that he is unpopular and is looking for every way possible to avoid that accountability that is represented by elections.
Signaling legal action, Oregon AG Dan Rayfield said, "We'll use every legal tool available to us to fight this and protect Oregonians' right to vote." Senator Ron Wyden added, "My message to the White House is this: if you come for Oregon's vote by mail, you'll have hell to pay." And the League of Women Voters tells KGW the administration's latest executive order is a direct attack not only on voters, but on how elections are run in this country. The Constitution is clear. Election administration is the responsibility of the states, not the executive branch.
That it's pretty amazing the guy who does continue to vote by mail continue to think that vote by mail is bad for everyone else.
Clark County Auditor Greg Kimsey says his experience reflects what multiple institutions have found. There's no evidence of wide-scale voting by non-citizens.
If you have any questions or doubts about the process or about your ballot, contact the elections office.
As it stands, counties are in charge of sending ballots to those on voter rolls.
It's these county clerks, the unsung heroes of democracy across the state and across the country who do this hard work. There is no role for the federal government here, and it is just an overreach. It's pure politics. It's unneeded.
Election experts believe the courts will deem this executive order unconstitutional. Looking ahead to Oregon's May 19th primary election, Secretary Reed is urging voters to return their ballots as soon as possible. David.
Catherine Cook in the newsroom tonight. Thanks, Catherine. Developing this evening, a murder suspect made his first court appearance this afternoon, accused of killing a convenience store employee. Police say Michael Payne, the man in surveillance images you're about to see, turned himself in and confessed to shooting and killing Ernesto Castellanos, who was working at a Plaid Pantry Friday night in Northeast Portland. Court records say after Payne shot the clerk, he robbed the store for the $25 that was in the till. Authorities say the suspect told them he was drunk and high on marijuana at the time. He's set to return to court next month. New tonight, a Gresham man learned today he'll spend 30 years in prison for stabbing and killing a stranger on the street. Alma McCarty spoke with prosecutors about the video evidence that helped crack this case.
At this bus stop on Southeast Division in the middle of the night,
Cody Funk was there just minding his own business.
a total stranger crept up on the 35-year-old homeless man and attacked, stabbing him multiple times. Deputy DA Sean Huey explains video footage from this stretch of road helped detectives piece together this crime.
Initially, you almost couldn't get a sense of what had happened at all. Investigators first thought he may have been hit by a car.
Prosecutors say Cody Funk walked 0.2 of a mile after that stabbing from the bus stop over to this corner, where he ultimately died. Police found his body the next morning, the day after Christmas, 2023.
It's horrifying to see how this unfolded on the video. It's heartbreaking from the perspective of the family.
Although video of the stabbing itself was distant and grainy, investigators analyzed more footage like this to identify the suspect, Anthony Kassab.
That's what's most striking to me, watching him very clearly in video, including some from the home he was living at, make his way up to this person that was a complete stranger and attack him that way.
6 weeks after this stabbing, Kassab attacked another homeless man who did survive. He was already in custody for that crime when investigators linked him to Funk's killing. More than 2 years later, after pleading guilty, Kassab was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Funk's family was there and addressed the court.
The uniform theme was just one after another. What a wonderful person he was, what a generous person he was, that he's the type of person to give you the shirt right off his back.
In Gresham, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
In national headlines, the Supreme Court ruled 8-1 today that a ban on conversion therapy in Colorado violates free speech. Conversion therapy, which includes talk therapy, is a highly controversial practice of trying to change someone's sexual orientation or gender identity. It's been widely discredited by medical organizations who call it ineffective and harmful. Now, the decision doesn't strike down the law, but it sends the case back to lower courts. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was the sole dissenting voice here, writing that states should be free to regulate health care, even if that means some restrictions on free speech. Well, let's switch to a live look over the Rose City on this Tuesday night, where you might say on this final day of March. It is the calm before the storm. Chief Meteorologist Matt Sfino is here to walk us through the timing. So how much rain are we talking about, Matt?
Probably about a third to a half an inch for the valleys. Nothing that we can't handle. Up in the Cascades, there's already been a couple of inches of new snow. That was earlier today up at Timberline, still holding at 31, but the temperatures will be dropping and the snow will be piling up, and for that reason there's a winter weather advisory up covering Mount Hood, and to the south of Mount Hood a winter storm warning, because the snow totals in the central and southern parts of the Cascades really will be impressive. Like, we're talking over 2 feet down there, lesser amounts on Mount Hood, but still beneficial. Now, Doppler radar, just a few showers out there. We had some rain come through Portland about an hour ago. Nothing major, but you see offshore, though, there's a good batch of precipitation showing up on Doppler radar. So we will get rain on the first day of April, turning to April showers. Isolated thunderstorms are possible in the afternoon, and more on that heavy snow in the Cascades in a bit, David.
See you in a few. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, a Central Oregon snowboarder is safe after she was airlifted out of the mountains by a National Guard helicopter. This effort involving nearly 24 volunteers. The Deschutes County Sheriff's Office says it got a call Monday afternoon about that injured snowboarder near the Broken Top Mountain in the Tam MacArthur Rim area. Due to weather, volunteers had to reach her on skis and then move her farther down the mountain, where a Blackhawk crew airlifted her to a hospital in Bend. Portland's famous protest frog is now on probation and has been ordered to stay away from the South Waterfront ice facility. That is where Seth Todd, his real name, first got noticed when he put on an inflatable costume last year to protest the Trump administration's immigration policies. Todd was arrested in January for not moving out of the way of an officer. After a plea deal this week, Todd will be on probation for the next 3 months and must stay at least 3 blocks away from the building. And starting tomorrow, some 1.5 million Oregon households are set to see their electrical bills jump. Oregon's Public Utilities Commission approved rate hikes for both PGE and Pacific Power customers. On average, the commission estimates PGE customers will see their bills go up roughly $8 a month, and Pacific Power customers will see a $5.50 increase. The exact numbers, of course, will vary by household. A former Multnomah County Corrections deputy is facing criminal charges and now a federal lawsuit for allegedly sexually assaulting a female inmate. A warning, some viewers may find these details disturbing. In June, Edwin Diaz was arrested and charged with 25 counts of sexual abuse, official misconduct, and custodial sexual misconduct against 2 inmates. Now, the federal lawsuit claims almost immediately after the woman was booked, Diaz began targeting and grooming her. About a year later, the lawsuit says Diaz went into the women's cell at night, pushed her head against the wall, and eventually raped her. When she asked for medical help the next day, the lawsuit says she was ignored and insulted by another deputy who said they didn't believe her. According to federal law, detention centers are supposed to report and monitor sexual abuse cases.
Just way too much of the time, investigations either don't happen at all or they're deemed to be unfounded or unsubstantiated. And what that tells us is really that it's very hard for someone to come forward and actually have their report taken seriously.
According to state records, Diaz retired from the sheriff's office in August. His criminal case is still pending. The sheriff's office declined to comment on this lawsuit.